It's time to find out what's cooking. Here now is the head chef of the Pemberton Township Food Service Program and your host, Tim Paroli.
Hello, welcome once again to another edition of What's Cooking. I'm Tim Paroli, and in the past I've always tried to show you things that were fresh, things that were different. Some of them were kind of old, some of them were new. Today we're going to fake it because there's a product out that is catching on, and it's a rage, and the product is called Imitation King Crab. Now, Imitation King Crab is known by many different names. However, they are brand names. It is still, the name of the product is an Imitation Crab. And we're going to show you a brand name today. They're commonly, the ones I find mostly, they're available very easily commercially to those in the professional business, but they're also available to you folks at home in many of the supermarkets. They call them sea legs. Now, what they are is a type of Pacific fish, and that's what they're going to tell you on the ingredients. So it's a type of white fish. Usually it's a hake or a halibut or a mixture of the two or three, and it comes to us in a variety of different shapes and sizes. And what I have today is the cut up or chunk style of the imitation crab. And you see that what they do is they take it, it's panned up. One side of it is going to be kind of a reddish color, and that's been done with a paprika. The other side is going to be white. However, the nice thing about these is the texture is there. They're very, very, very tender. They're very flavorful. The other nice thing I like about them is they're fully cooked. So you buy them frozen, and when you buy this type, you can buy them in bulk. They come in a 5-pound package, and they're ready to use. Now, you can either enjoy them just the way they are once you thaw them out in the refrigerator, or we're going to show you a variety of ways to prepare them. The one that seems to have caught on and seems to be making everybody crazy lately with the onset of warm weather is a sea leg salad. Now, I try to tell people it's a sea leg salad. They say, oh, I'll have the crab salad. So you can tell them what you want at home. They're going to tell you what they think it is anyway. We all go through that. So what I have here for the sea leg salad is just some cooked rotini. Now, what I did with them is I find when people are preparing a salad, a pasta salad, we tend to overcook the pastas. Now, what we want to do is make sure that we only cook them halfway. When you try that pasta and you go, it's almost done, take it off the stove and cool it. Because by the time you get it off the stove, by the time you get it cooled, your pasta is going to be subjected to something that's called carryover cooking. And what that is the heat is in the pasta, and by the time you get the cold water to every little piece, it has been cooking from the time you turned it off till the time it cooled down. So cook them halfway and take them off. Once you've got them like that, drain them real well. Now, I like to hang them in a colander and drain them once they're cold. Don't leave them in the cold water, because if you leave them in the cold water, they won't be sticky. That's right, they won't be sticky. We want them to stick together just a little bit because we want them to absorb our dressing. Put in some of your legs. Put in the amount that you want now, because depending upon how far you want the legs to go will be determined by the amount of people you have and how many of the pastas you have to prepare. Then what we're going to do is trim up. I want to give myself just a little bit of room. We're going to trim up some celery, and I want to show you how I like to cut that, because when we have a salad, the salad is going to be eaten just the way you send it out. In other words, it's not like a steak. If you like your steak well, medium, or rare, you can change the way it is. When you have a salad, it goes out the way you have prepared it, and it's not going to be cooked any more than what you have there. So what we do is we want to keep in mind the consistencies. Now, I'm telling you that because try one of these little sea legs before you prepare the salad. If they're very, very tender and they're not chewy, then what you have to do is make everything else similar in consistency. The celery's a little crunchy. What we're going to do with that is cut them on a bias and slanted. And what that's going to show is that we can get this celery very, very thin. And I'm going to cut one or two of these, and I'll move back over so that I can give you a better view of what we're going to do. But we're going to cut them, and that's going to change the entire size of the celery. Normally, what we do with celery, if I get over on this board, I can show you much better, I'm sure. What we do with celery, all the time when we get like elbow macaroni, celery is cut like this. And you see it on the knife. That's the size. It's always small. Now I'm going to show you that you can take small celery, and we're going to change the size of the celery. It's not, remember, celery's crunchy, so it's going to keep its consistency. There's two ways of doing it. I'm going to show you that you can lay the celery flat like that and just pull the knife off it like that. And that's going to give you a very thin, very large slice of celery. Now, that may be a little difficult for you folks at home to do. So to make it simple, all we do is turn that celery on its side. And by turning the celery on its side, and this is a good shot because if you notice, don't have your thumb peeking out like that. When your thumb peeks out, that's what you're going to cut. Keep your thumb behind your fingers and just cut that more than a 45. See, if you're not real good in math, you're not going to fail this one. You cut that on a slant. And as you get better, you can slant that more and more. And the more I slant them, you see how big they are on the knife. The further you slant that. And thin. I'm going to throw them right into that. And we're going to do this one the way you're going to be able to do it after you practice one. You're going to cut this, and you're going to cut it on a big slant, and you're going to cut it real thin. Now look at the size of that. Now this is from celery, remember now. We've got celery that's all different sizes now. So it's very, very large, and that's what we're after. Because if the sea legs are small, we want to make sure that we are adding some variety in size to our salad, but we want the texture to still be easy to eat. So we'll finish this one off. And we have all of our celery cut. Okay, so that's a little different slant, if you will, on how to cut celery. The Oriental type of cooking favors that because it gives a large, flat, thin surface. Now we're going to add a little bit of color by taking some peppers, and we're going to cut these with the shiny side down on the board, the inside of the pepper facing up. And these we're going to cut nice and thin. And by doing that, it's going to add a different shape to our salad. All right, so the peppers are cut kind of a julienne. That long one, big fat one, we're not going to put in there. And that goes in. Now you've seen us demonstrate different types of peppers. They come in many, many colors, all being still a fresh, sweet pepper. So what you want to do is you can get and change the colors of your salads by using the Holland peppers. And they come in an orange and red and green. They're just beautiful peppers to use. So we put them in there. And already our salad is now, we've got the spiral shapes and we've got the little chunks of the sea legs. We've got some of the flat, fancy butterfly. Now we're going to take and we're going to thin up our onion. And the onion, believe it or not, we're going to try and get these very, very thin. All we're going to do is take off the top and the bottom. And you've seen us do this tons of times, I hope. Then we're going to take, and there's that little root button, we're going to split that right in half. Now what we want to keep is the onion very, very thin. Now that's why we're doing this last, because you've practiced on the celery, which is very easy because it's crunchy and it's firm and it holds up really well and cuts easy. The pepper is a little more difficult to cut. The onion now, we're only going to cut this one time. So we want to make sure that we cut it one time and we get it cut right. Now this is very important. You don't have to cut fast. Watch, even I'm going to cut slow, real thin. Remember that, real slow, real thin. Because if you don't and you get, there's nothing worse than a big chunk of onion when you're eating it. Now, you don't have to cut every single time. You can move this hand the slightest bit and get a very thin slice. And that's how I want them. I want, when you have your salad, I want you to be able to almost see through them. Very, very thin. All right? You can go slow. I don't have to. real thin. And when you get to this part where you get afraid that the onion and your finger and there's not enough room, what I want you to do is lay the onion down on the fat side, turn it around, and look at all that room you've got. I know you're saying you're crazy, there's hardly any room. But keep your thumb behind your two fingers just like that, and you're not going to have any problem whatsoever. None. However, you can always do what I do. When I get down to where the onion's this big, just get rid of it. Okay, so now I've got a half an onion. I'm going to put a little more in there. There we go. Now we've got that. Break them up, and you'll see why I wanted them so thin. I want them to be a part of the salad. I don't want them to be the salad. That's very aggravating when you're eating a salad and all of a sudden you're something crunchy and you, boy, what is that? All of a sudden you get run over by a freight train of onion. So we want that onion right in that bowl. And now here we're going to move my salad bowl back over, and I'm going to show you how we season this. Got all your ingredients in there. It looks good already. It looks nice and fresh. It looks different. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of parsley flakes just to bring out that green a little more. Now, I've tasted these. They don't have much salt in them, so I'm going to put a little bit of salt. Remember, I'm not actually trying to season that crab as much as I'm trying to season the pastas, so they're kind of flat. Some salt. This is a light, fresh-looking salad, so we're going to put in white pepper. Now, white pepper, you see me use that a lot, and if you've been following our program, you probably have it. When you pinch that white pepper, be sure you rinse your hands off with some cold water because you can't see white pepper. As a matter of fact, the doctor can't see white pepper if you should rub your eye and get it in there. They just wash your eye out and let you suffer along. So make sure that if you reach in and you sprinkle that pepper that you rinse your hand. Now, a little bit of vinegar is going to go in here. Just a little bit because I want that little bit of tartness on the pasta. I'm trying to break that up to give it the taste and move that crab along, just like that, a little bit. Now, the last part for this salad is the mayonnaise, and all we're going to do is just fold in just enough. Okay, look at that, and you see that the amount of salad is a lot, and the amount of the mayonnaise is very small because as the crab begins to melt and as it defrosts, it has a high water content. And I don't want this to be running all over the place. So we're going to mix up our crab salad just like that. And all I want that mayo to do is to just lightly coat the salad ingredients very lightly. And I still want all those colors to come through. And then all we have to do with our salad is let this rest for a couple of minutes. So while I'm letting my salad take a rest, how about if you folks at home watch this?
Come celebrate the birthplace of the blueberry at the 9th Annual White Spog Blueberry Festival, Saturday, July 11th. The day begins at 11 a.m. with a run through the pines and starts to cook at noon with the exciting band Cabin Fever. So come join us for a day filled with exciting events and fresh Jersey blueberry the whole family will enjoy. The historic village of White Spog is located off Route 530 in Browns Mills. Festival admission is $10 per carload. Call 893-4646 for more information.
They're off. They're off. They're really off. They're off on the 3rd Annual Celebrity Road Rally, sponsored by the Burlington County Unit of the American Cancer Society on Sunday, June 7th. Drivers compete by following clues and directions around a course that tests skill and accuracy. Anyone can enter, anyone can win, or you can watch from the sidelines and cheer them on. The rally will be followed by music, food, and fun. Awards will be given for the best costumes and most unique car. The 3rd Annual Celebrity Road Rally, sponsored by the Burlington County Unit of the American Cancer Society, Sunday, June 7th. Be there for the fun.
Welcome back, and the time it took you to watch that is all that it has taken for this to already pick up a nice shine to it. The little bit of vinegar and the water from our sea legs is already breaking down the mayo, and that's what we want it to do because we don't want this to be kind of coated in mayonnaise. We want this to have a light dressing over it, and that's what it's got. So we take that now, and you can just see that that's nice and light, and it's got that nice fresh look to it. So that's what we're after. And this you can make up ahead of time. As a matter of fact, this is better if it's going to hang around for a day. It's better the next day. However, I have a tough time keeping this around for even that long. So that's the salad, and that can be prepared, as I said, ahead of time, and it's very easy to do. Now, I want to show you another nice thing that these are wonderful to use. What you want to do is we're going to prepare them sauteed. Now, what we're going to need is a little bit of butter and a nice hot saute pan. So we're going to, okay, we've got a hot saute pan. We're going to melt some butter in there. Now, remember, when you're seeing any of these recipes that we show you and the way I put them together, if I show you butter and you want to knock out the butter, olive oil is also very good. It's not going to have the cholesterol in it. So you can substitute fats anywhere I do and starches anywhere where I use them for one that maybe will help you out on your diet. I don't think sauteed crab and butter is going to help anybody's diet. So we're going to take that butter now and we're going to let that butter just foam up a little. And I'm going to roll that around a couple times over the fire. And what we're going to find is that what we actually do when we roll that around, you'll see us do this a lot, we roll that pan around. What that does is it moves the heat that's in the fat in the pan around. And what it does is it just helps distribute the heat throughout the pan. So when you see me picking up a pan and rolling it around, aside from the set my burner's a little crooked, we roll that around to evenly distribute the heat throughout the pan. And while I've talked to you about this butter foamed up once. Now, if you take a look at it, it's going to foam again. And what happens is it gets a nice foam on it, and then it falls, and then it will pick up another foam. It'll have like a second foam. And once it has that second foam, what the butter does next is that these bubbles begin to fall, and that butter is going to brown. And what I want to do is catch that butter just as it starts to brown. So I know it's just about ready to brown. You can see that foam beginning to stop. So we're going to put a little bit of our garlic powder on that. And I'm shaking that around to make sure that I don't want to develop a hot spot in this butter. As you see that, if I get a hot spot in there, that'll be a problem because that part of the butter is going to burn and the rest of it will pick up a burned flavor. And what I'm looking for is that kind of hazelnut flavor that we get when this butter does this. So you'll see us saute something in butter, and there it goes. You'll see it starting to brown right now. As it just starts to do that, you see that brown forming right in there? That's when we are going to put in some of our sea legs. And that's going to arrest or stop that cooking process. So we put them in there. I've got some broccoli. And this is very nice all by itself. Let's put them over on this side of the pan. We're going to supplement the flavor of this today. There we go. We get that broccoli right under there. I'm going to let that just begin to steam. Actually, what I'm going to do to help this steam along is we're going to just splash that with a little white wine. Real quick, and it's covered before I let it out. What I'm going to do with this, if you're going to be using an imitation product like we're using in here today, the imitation crab, what I like to do is, first of all, buy the best one that you can get. Then I try to supplement that, and you've seen us use this product before. It's a type of a base. And what I find that works well with the crab is a little bit of this clam base. So instead of salt, I'm going to add a little bit of clam base to this because it's going to add not only salt to it, but an extra added flavor. And that's what I want to add. So I put that in there. Now that was a little white wine we splashed that with. And we let that cook up just like that. Now, into the center is where we're going to put just a little bit of oil right down in the center, a little bit. Remember, I put the butter in here to flavor this. Now we're going to let that finish cooking, and we're going to put that last little bit of onion into that to bring out that. Now we cut these thin like we did with our salad, And what I'm going to do with them right now is take some of those flat slices and we're going to just cross cut them. The onion went that way, we're cutting it the other way. We cut that cross cut once or twice and it will almost disappear as it cooks. And that's what we want. That goes right in there. And this is very, very light in its flavor. All right, so now we're going to let that just simmer for just a second. Now I want to move a couple of things out of the way. And while I'm letting that simmer, you know, I've been asked whenever we serve up a salad like that, our crab salad, we're going to put it on a dish of lettuce, or if you're going to just take the legs and put them out as chunks, because they do come cut many different ways. What you want to do with them is put some lettuce down. And I've been asked to show how do you get that core out of the lettuce, because I've got a lot of people cut them, they break them, they smash them. What we're going to do, that'll be ready in just a second, is I'm going to show you with 2 heads of lettuce. You've got a head of lettuce. Now, most of us call this lettuce, so it is lettuce. It's iceberg lettuce. This type of lettuce is iceberg. You're going to take and trim off anything on the outside that readily falls off. It comes off just like that. Discard anything that's brown. On the bottom will be a core, and that's pretty hard. But remember, the head of lettuce, if it's pretty firm, that's what you want. You're going to turn this over, and I'm going to hit that right there. Now, see, that's not doing anything. But I don't want to hit this so hard that I smash and bruise the lettuce. You want to give it a firm hit. You'll feel that core break loose. And it should just come right out of there, just like that. And once you have that core out, then the rest of this will pop right off of the lettuce. And you can get rid of any of the brown or any of the rust or anything that's in that lettuce. You can just trim that right off. Also, you'll find that the leaves are going to come off nice and easy. And then you can just pull your lettuce leaves off of there. And you can work right on down with the head of lettuce and get all of the leaves off of it. And then when it gets real small, all you have to do is either split the head like this, or you can cut it. You can do either one. And you can continue to use that lettuce as you go down the outside edges of the lettuce. And that's what we normally use the outside, the darkest green lettuce for, to put them on there. And that's what we would serve if you're going to just put your legs out just like that. It's put out on a little bed of lettuce, and that's all that you need. But I find that many of us have trouble with these big heads of lettuce. Now let's check our little saute pan. There goes our puff of steam. And it's picked up a little bit of color, and that's just what I'm after. Now on the bottom of the pan has accumulated a little bit of the juice and the butter, and a little bit of the onion is brown down there. So I'm going to split a lemon, move him out of the way, and we're going to put a little lemon juice over this. And you can deglaze this one more time with a little bit of white wine. And all we have to do is remove our pan from the fire and just take that right on around like that. And what that's going to do is cook that off of the bottom. And you'll see that they shake loose again, and now we can just turn them right over. And that's the whole idea with saute, is to cook that quickly and easily so that we can prepare it and get it ready. And we have that set up. Let's move them over here out of the way. We're going to put that over top of some cooked spaghetti. And for that, we have our spaghetti done up. And we just want to heat that up. And remember that this product is fully cooked, and it's very nice and very easy to use. But whenever you're using it, we want to put this out. We're going to use it as to show. We want it to be pleasing to the eye. So as we set this up as a hot dish, we're going to dry off our cooked spaghetti. I'm going to put some of this in there. We're not going to put the broccoli parts in it. We're going to knock off some of the crabs in it so that we get that and some of that juice from the bottom of our pan. And we're going to just take that and use that oil and the butter that's in there to very lightly coat and dry out the pasta. If you're going to, even if you're using a fresh pasta that you've just cooked, drain it and be sure that we put that into a saute pan like this one that's shallow and it's nice and hot, and you'll see that it will dry that pasta right up and that the pasta will now be ready to stick the sauce to it. We don't want the sauce to run off of a hot, wet spaghetti. We want it to stick right to it. So you'll hear it snap in the pan like this one's just starting to do. So we have that all set, and that one is set up. We put that down underneath it. Now the sea legs, as I told you, are a fish. What's nice about them when you purchase them is you're going to be given all the nutritional data on them. So if you're allergic to maybe a shellfish, you will find that some of them contain no shellfish at all, and some of them contain a lot. So depending upon the brand that you buy, and if you have an allergic reaction, will determine whether you're going to buy which brand or the other. So you see how nice this works out. There's no fuss and no muss. We'll just put that right on that. And this product will keep in your freezer. It's usually IQF'd when you buy it, and that means that it has been individually quick frozen so that you can just take it. It's usually in a plastic bag packed in a box. You just take that and take out the amount that you want as you need it. So it's a time-saving kind of a product that we're going to be able to use, and you can see that it just has many different variations. We're starting to substitute it for any time that we need crab meat. We also use it anytime we have a dish that we use fish. We have found that using this in with our shrimp for scampi really makes a nice dish. So you can see the variation, the color, and again, it's a product you can buy bulk and you can use it very, very easily. So for What's Cooking, this has been crab, but imitation crab. I hope you'll try it, and thank you for watching.
Temperature's up a little bit.